What happens when one of Hollywood's most legendary actors sits down with daytime, television's most controversial panel? You won't believe what unfolds when Robert De Niro faces off against the View hosts. What began as a simple promotional appearance spiraled into absolute chaos. This wasn't just another celebrity interview gone wrong. This was a masterclass in how fast things explode. When egos clash and political opinions collide. The tension was thick the moment Robert De Niro walked onto the set. What was meant to be a routine appearance for his latest film project felt like a powder keg. Known for his intense on-screen presence and passionate political views, De Niro settled into the guest chair with a steely gaze. Joy Behar opened with a smile. "Robert, we're excited to have you here. But before we talk about your new project, we have to address the elephant in the room. You've been quite vocal politically, and frankly, some viewers find your comments divisive." De Niro's jaw tightened. His piercing eyes locked onto Joy. "Divisive?" he repeated slowly. "I think standing up for what's right is exactly what we need more of, not less." Whoopi Goldberg leaned forward. "But Robert, don't you think celebrities should stay in their lane? You're an actor, not a politician. When you make these statements, aren't you alienating half your audience?" De Niro's hands gripped the chair. "What's inflammatory is sitting silent while democracy is under attack. Pretending everything is fine when it's not." Sonny Hostin jumped in. "But your language, Robert, some of it is extreme. Don't you think, as someone with a platform, you should be more measured?" The audience had gone silent. De Niro looked at them, then back at the panel. "Measured?" He laughed. "No humor in it. You want measured? I've been in this business for 50 years. I know when something stinks, and right now, a lot stinks." He leaned forward. "You sit here judging and criticizing others like you're the moral authority. But when someone with actual experience speaks, we're told to stay in our lane." Alyssa Farah Griffin spoke up. "Robert, I think what we're trying to say is, your rhetoric has consequences. It creates hostility." De Niro went silent. His body tensed. "Rhetoric," he finally said. "You think this is rhetoric? This is reality. This is what happens when people who've never fought for anything try to lecture those who have." Sarah Haynes tried to smooth things over. "We all want what's best for the country. Maybe we can find common ground." De Niro didn't flinch. Common ground with people who treat serious issues like morning show banter? You want common ground? Stop pretending you understand things you've never lived through. Joy Behar dropped the smile. "If you're going to come on our show and insult us, maybe you should explain what gives you the right to be so sanctimonious." De Niro's eyes narrowed. His smile turned sharp. "What gives me the right? I'll tell you." But just as he was about to unleash more, the show cut to commercial break. During the break, the studio was chaos. Producers rushed around, whispering into headsets. De Niro sat still, fuming. The hosts huddled, preparing their next round. When cameras came back, the atmosphere had turned toxic. Joy tried to reset. "Welcome back. Robert, you were about to tell us what gives you the right to lecture everyone about politics." De Niro leaned in. "I grew up in Little Italy when it meant something. I've seen real struggle. I've worked with people who built this country with their bare hands." His voice rose. "Now I have to sit here and listen to privileged talking heads who've never had real jobs tell me about responsibility?" Whoopi fired back. "Oh, please, Robert. You're an actor. You pretend for a living. We have real careers, real credentials." The silence was immediate. De Niro stood slowly. "You want to talk about real careers? I've worked since I was a teenager, studied my craft, earned everything. And you?" He pointed at Whoopi. "You think sitting behind that desk qualifies you to judge anyone?" Sonny cut in. "Robert, calm down. This is our show. If you can't handle the heat, maybe you shouldn't have come." De Niro laughed coldly. "Let me tell you something about your show. You gossip like teenagers and call it journalism. You can't stand that others are more successful." Alyssa tried to interrupt. "That's inappropriate." De Niro snapped. "You want to know what's inappropriate? Ambushing a guest who came in good faith. Pretending you're journalists when you're gossipers. His voice grew louder. You turned this into an attack. You want to know what gives me the right to speak? It's the same thing you've wasted. Your platform. Joy lost it. You don't get to come on our show and talk to us like we're nothing. We've earned our place here. De Niro went still. Aging actor? He whispered. You think age makes me weak? Age gives perspective. And right now, I see exactly what you are. Whoopi stood. That's it. You either apologize, or this interview is over. De Niro didn't hesitate. You want an apology? I apologize for thinking you were professionals. I apologize for thinking you wanted a real conversation instead of a witch hunt. The studio was in full chaos. Producers gestured wildly from the sidelines. Audience members murmured. The panel looked ready to either flee or fight. But De Niro wasn't finished. Not even close. He scanned the panel like a man who had decided to burn every bridge. The tension in the studio was so thick it felt like it had weight. What was supposed to be a promotional interview had turned into a live implosion. You know what your problem is? De Niro's voice sliced through the noise like a blade. You've sat behind this desk for so long, you've forgotten what the real world looks like. You've been pretending to be journalists for so long. You actually believe your own act. Joy Behar's face turned red. How dare you? We've been doing this job longer than you've been politically relevant, Robert. Just because you're famous doesn't mean you get to come here and insult us. Politically relevant? De Niro's laugh was bitter. Lady, I was fighting for causes when you were still learning how to read a teleprompter. I was using my platform to make a difference while you were focused on ratings and paychecks. He waved dismissively at the whole panel. And you want to lecture me on being relevant? Sonny Hostin leaned in. You think being loud and angry makes you right? That intimidation wins arguments? That's not how civilized discourse works. That word, intimidation, seemed to set something off. Intimidation! De Niro echoed. Let me tell you what's intimidating. Coming here in good faith and getting ambushed. Being told to sit down and shut up by people who profit off fake outrage and cheap drama. Whoopi, refusing to back down, stepped forward. You need to check yourself. You're acting like a bully. And frankly, it's embarrassing. Maybe it's time you learned some respect. De Niro froze. The word hit him hard. Respect? He said quietly. He turned toward the camera and looked straight into it. Respect is earned, not demanded because you have a TV show. I've spent 50 years in this business earning respect. Through hard work, through real art, through sacrifice. I've worked with the best directors, actors, and artists of my generation. I've been honored around the world. And now I'm supposed to take lessons in respect. From you? He turned to the panel. His voice was sharper than ever. From a panel of dumb, who wouldn't know real journalism if it bit them on the ass? The audience gasped. The panel froze. The air left the room. Whoopi was the first to react, her voice shaking. Get him out of here! Security! But De Niro was already on the move. He ripped off his mic and threw it on the table with a loud crack. You want me gone? Fine. I wouldn't spend another second with you people anyway. Joy Behar shrieked. You can't talk to us like that. This is our show. De Niro turned one last time. Your show? This isn't a show. It's a circus. And you're all the clowns. The only difference? Clowns are supposed to be entertaining. This is pathetic. Alyssa tried to recover. Robert, if you'd just apologize. Apologize? De Niro's voice exploded. The only thing I'm sorry for is wasting my time. You people are everything wrong with television, with media, with this country's obsession with drama over truth. Sarah Haynes, now in tears, begged, Robert, please! This doesn't have to end like this. But De Niro was done. Yes, it does. It has to end exactly like this. Because this is what you wanted. You wanted drama? You got it. You wanted a scene. Congratulations. You got more than you could handle. He turned toward the exit, his long coat sweeping behind him like a final curtain. But even then, he wasn't quite finished. Without turning back, he called out, You know what the saddest part is? Somewhere out there, real journalists are doing real work, asking real questions, and you're making them all look bad, just by existing. The panel sat frozen, the audience stunned. Cameras kept rolling a few seconds longer, capturing the devastation on every host's face, before finally cutting to the most awkward commercial break in daytime TV history. As the final seconds played out, one thing was clear. This wasn't just a heated argument. This wasn't even a disaster. This was a legendary moment. Robert De Niro had entered as a guest, but he left as something else. A man who had reached his limit, torched the stage and walked away unshaken. No director could have scripted it. No studio could have prepared for it. And no one watching would ever forget it.